Hello everybody, welcome to the 51st and final episode of the Chicken Chess Club podcast. My name is Jan Gustafsson. I'm back home after some exciting travels, but we have even more exciting news in the chess world. Ding Liren is the 17th world chess champion. Congratulations to Ding, here to talk about the match, everything else that happened, what it means. Is from Paris, France, looking very handsome today, Laurent Fressinet. Laurent, how are you today?
Thank you very much, Jan. I can't do a French accent, but Laurent's not here today.
You do sound different.
I do.
Mr Dodgy is joining us to replace Laurent, who had a very busy schedule, I think, and I quote here, I have a lunch for a couple hours, can't do it today.
I thought he was actually protesting against the pension reform because he felt it was unreasonable for someone in his kind of high labor-intensive work line to work past 60, he said.
I think he's protesting by having lunch for a couple hours, so it could be true. But
yeah, that makes sense.
We have one regular of this program. Can't say I'm a regular anymore. Regular of the recaps of the chess world. Magnus Carlsen's head coach, now first day as the head coach of the former world champion, Peter Heine-Nielsen. Peter, how are you feeling?
Yeah, thanks for pointing it out. I feel sort of my social status is sort of affected in a way, right? But apart from that, I feel kind of normal. Nothing seems to have massively changed. But so I can't really, say much. But no, that's more or less it. All good. And I would like to say that this great comic start here was not pre-planned. We just have talents today. So I'm looking forward to being with you guys.
Not sure what you're referring to, but let's get to the talk of the town. Ding Liren is the world champion. Dramatic tiebreak. The classical match ended 7-7. And we can talk about the chances that Nepomniachtchi maybe missed along the way. But the tiebreak was a gripping affair. Was 1.5, and then game 4. Ding Liren with the black pieces refuses what most people, certainly all chicken, would have done. A move repetition in a position that looked unclear-ish, equal-ish, where he had less time. Self-pinned the rook and went on to win the game and the title. My hot take is he wasn't being brave. He wasn't taking any risks. He was just, being a pawn counter. He thought, I'm a pawn up. The guy's trying to repeat moves. I have to put my rook in the way to stay a pawn up. And that's what he did, and he converted his extra pawn.
So basically you are taking his finest hour in the chess history and you're calling it incompetence, right?
No, because he wasn't worse. I'm not calling it incompetence. I'm just saying he didn't need bravery because he just thought, I'm a pawn up. Let's keep it. That's my take.
I generally agree. Well, he could be misevaluating it. And I think he was actually right. I would very much also have taken the draw. But when you start looking at the position, which we wouldn't do because we're chickens, it was obvious that the practical chances was still with him, right? That's what you said.
Hard to say. I just saw the computer, and I guess Nepomniachtchi did commit a blunder there with queen to f5, missing some c4, queen d3 defensive idea. But yeah, the composure, of course, is amazing. As to be said, I was talking a lot of trash about Ding and his preparation, and why didn't he check this line in the break when Nepomniachtchi repeats the same martial line? He's taking time. But overall, he played an amazing game there. And it's sometimes harder to see there sitting with a computer and whining about the opening. But he just doesn't crack under pressure in these tiebreak games. He's so strong once the position gets complicated. Same goes for Nepomniachtchi, I would think. But I was actually impressed with the level. I know there's been a lot of whining about, the level is so low and Magnus wouldn't have done that. But the tiebreak, I thought it was good stuff from both, actually.
That is a bit much, in my opinion. I think the last game, first, Nepom was a bit better, then Ding was much better, then he misplayed it, and so on and so forth. But I generally, my general feeling was that the playoff was quite of high quality, while the actual match was more. I mean, I generally agree with you.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I thought the first 3 games, especially, there was very little to sort of complain about in a way, right? They actually managed to play very decent games. I mean, also, well, I would tend to portray that Magnus did it excellently in his playoff. But for instance, against Caruana, he was dead lost in game 2, basically out of the opening and things like that. So, I mean, no, generally I agree. I very much think we should also talk about the classical games because a bunch of stuff happened there. But I think we should praise ourselves. I think prior to the match, we said that Ding has a very strong nervous system when it comes to when it really matters, right? Or I don't know. Well, of course, he survived a ton of bullets before that, but he actually
that will be the narrative now that he won.
Yeah.
But he gave like Nepomniachtchi a million chances along the way too. So I'm not really sure. I was very impressed, with this final game.
Mm-hmm. But I mean,
but was his nervous system good earlier? I find it hard to say.
No, but that's also, I mean, they strike me more as chess mistakes rather than nervous system. But of course, I don't have access to his brain, so I have no clue if everything melts down because of that in a way.
There was that moment when he completely froze, and that did seem like purely a mental thing.
The French game seemed completely mental, where he just couldn't make a move for 5 minutes. Yeah, and earlier, I think the second game, we also can't call it chess mistakes. That was too weak. But he did his comeback thing, which he also did in the last two candidates. He doesn't seem to get weaker even when there are setbacks. And he lost, I don't know how many games he lost, like 3 times it was level, and he lost again and was down -1, and it never made him stop fighting.
I'm pretty sure someone clever in our preview, and I'm afraid it was you, said that if Nepomniachtchi gets ahead, anything can happen. If Ding gets ahead, it's over. Well, that was literally true in this match.
No, it was literally true.
Yeah. So, well, but I'm afraid you actually said that. Yeah,
I did say that.
Yeah. And no, that's what we mean with Ding. Yeah, he will be vulnerable, but he'll get back on his feet. While we don't know how. The match was over when Nepomniachtchi fell behind, but he has a worse track record of that. I mean, Ding. Well, no, I mean, I agree with Mr. Dodgy. There was incredible weak moments, also psychologically. But somehow he seems to not think, okay, now it's over, but he continues. But maybe
that's also what we should applaud, no? Like, everyone has weak moments and mistakes and will freeze or whatever. But to get back up in very, very short time, and arguably we'll get to that, with some missing preparation, some missing weapons, help, to just keep fighting as if nothing happened. I think that's the inspiring part.
I agree. I mean, it took me quite some years to learn that as a coach, but I mean, you should evaluate people on how they react the next time they sit on the board. What they do in between there matters very little. I mean, the benchmark is how do you do when you start playing, right? And I think their Ding was tough.
So you mean you're not judging Vichy by all this abuse after he lost games?
So, that was more or less what I was trying to admit here. That
I know.
Yeah, but I think they both did quite well coming back from losses. Like, I don't think there was... I think there was a big difference between the Nepo that we've seen in previous years, who maybe... like, because I think the games, even though he lost, somebody didn't go behind, he was still clearly devastated after each loss, but he recovered. The game afterwards was never particularly below his level, I don't think. So I think they both managed to rebound well.
I agree with that. I would think it was maybe a little easier for Nepomniachtchi. He was usually, or I think always, white after a loss, and he did get fairly comfortable positions with one exception.
Wait. They were both always white after a loss.
True. Is that true? No. Ding lost game 2 with white, but overall, point taken.
Fair enough.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you. In general, even before the match, we predicted Nepomniachtchi might be a slight favorite because of the better, whatever you want to call it, infrastructure, organization, team preparation. And I think even though Ding won the match very much told that narrative. Nepomniachtchi had all the chances overall. Yeah, it looked like he was not just getting better positions, but also in the pure chess part, as Peter mentioned. oftentimes he looked stronger in like the early middle game, and what held him back, and you could say, yeah, that's built into his style, were like one or two rushed decisions. But I haven't really checked. I think if you look who was ahead by computer evaluation throughout the match, it must have been Nepomniachtchi, for example. No?
I would guess so. And also now we praise Ding, but we should remember, well, game 12, he was dead lost, being outplayed from a better position. Had Nepom, I mean, there was nothing Ding could control in order not to lose that game. Had that happened, we would have a completely different narrative here. I mean, and that, well, it was just some very weird chess decisions. I also think that, well, Nepom played generally the better chess, but he also had some very, very weak moments, right? I mean, so.
Yeah, that's, I guess, built into his style a bit. He also played more quickly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I believe he did look very, very strong at Ding. Yeah, he had this. Well, he wasn't in the lead throughout the match. He literally won the last game of the tiebreak to take the lead. While even the tiebreak, you could argue that Nepomniachtchi had some chances, although maybe that's balanced. Nepomniachtchi was much better in game 2. I think Ding had some chances in game 1. Hard to argue that one. But Nepomniachtchi, at this point, he must feel not robbed, but he must be upset, as you would be anyway when you don't win the World Championship match. But was there for the taken for him? Not just game 12, but also game 14, that end game, where you can choose many moments. But I think the one he himself pointed out is if instead of e5 he goes rook b3. I don't think Ding is holding that.
It's plus 2.5. I mean, I mean, again, there's nothing Ding can do to hold it because it's that lost. I mean, so, and that was quite, No,
yeah,
I mean,
and I think it was hard to watch the last part of the rapid game as well because, like, Nepomniachtchi knocked over the pieces, not on the board, the pieces at the side of the board, and yeah, he clearly was just very upset. So it wasn't enjoyable to watch, really.
But I think there we have to. I don't know. I didn't watch it all live. We also have to command him because we know he gets upset after losses, but it looked like he was being very, very fair with Ding. Shook hands, and Ding offered up his hand again, and he shook it again. I thought Nepomniachtchi actually did great there, and overall, I think he looked very composed. Like,
I think it was he didn't knock the pieces over on purpose or anything. He just.
The way I understood you, Dodgy, is more that it's like a bit heartbreaking in terms of. Well, I mean, this is the problem with these World Championship matches. They're so career defining in a way, but well, that's how sport is. If you want to have a very prestigious title, right? I mean, that's when we have the Mr Dodgy Invitational. At least it's online; you can go and hide, right? But here it's sort of very exposed. But yeah.
One question I had, because I've seen the usual criticism of it's a disgrace the World Championship match, the classical match, is decided in a tiebreak by rapid games. I don't feel that way. I mean, they're playing 14 classical games. They're sitting there for 80 hours. And football is 90 minutes. And after that, you need a decision. Do you guys feel the tiebreak is wrong? Should they keep playing, I don't know, mini games? Mini matches are 2 classical games. What's the way to end this?
No, it was disgusting. If this was a 16-game match, this never would have happened.
Fair point. Or 12.
Play till 10 wins, right? Yeah. I mean, no.
Yeah, I mean, you have to do something. I would be very happy to see a return to like the 24-game matches, but like you're probably still going to have the rapid tie breaks at the end. So
that might be the way to get Magnus back. 24 classical games.
Yeah. I rarely speak on his behalf, but this one, I think we can seal the deal here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there is something in me which is wrong, and now I thought, okay, it's going to go to Blitz. That's going to feel. I mean, are we actually going to have a champion? World champion being in the sort of heritage of Lasker or whoever, based on a Blitz game, but. I mean, I also dislike that the champion just keep his title. There's no very beautiful solution in a way. So that's how it is. No, I thought it was good. It was decided in game 4 by Ding doing something cool. I mean, that at least created a rather strong narrative in a way. But I don't know. Well, I think the problem with chess perhaps is that we feel a world championship match has to be incredibly just. We have to find out who is the strongest player in the world, rather than we just see it as a sporting event. And that has pluses and minuses. But I mean, if you only see it as a sporting event, what's the big deal? But if you see it as this sort of scientific way to find out who's the best player in the world, maybe it hurts a little bit.
Don't know. It's not like there is no chance to prove yourself the best player in the world beforehand. Maybe there is this usual fear of sudden death, as I like to say. Because if we look at the matches, 3 out of the last 4 matches went to tiebreaks. And since we introduced tiebreaks, I don't have the numbers, but it's a very, very high percentage. No, we had tiebreaks in Anand Gelfand. We had tiebreaks in... I have a terrible.
Well, I have been to 3 tiebreaks.
Topalov versus Anand. Topalov self-destructed in the last game in order to avoid tiebreaks.
Kramnik Topalov was tiebreaks.
Topalov was a tiebreak.
Kayakin Carlsen was tiebreaks. And Caruana Carlsen was tiebreaks.
And this one, yeah.
It seems to get there more often than the math is suggesting, right? I mean, I understand it's a small sample size, but it ends up there rather...
Not that small a sample size.
No. But
20 years.
Yeah, sure. But it's like 8 matches. But no, a huge amount of them ends up there. And I forgot what the odds was beforehand, maybe like 20% for a tiebreak. But that seems historically a bit low based on how things develop, right? So, and I think you are right to an extent that with Topalov being the exceptions, others seems to be rather happy going to tiebreak. Perhaps also...
Well, Ding did try to self-destruct in the last classical game. He didn't quite succeed, but he did all he could with his 95 H4.
I mean, that was a very strange decision to me, especially as... to me, he seemed... had he played this move E4, he would be better. I understand that in our daily recap, Laurent assumed that Nepham was still in preparation and would sacrifice the exchange.
But B7, he was clearly out of book. B6, he should have played now.
I mean, I agree with you, but who am I to argue with Laurent, right? I mean, he was saying
he's usually wrong now that he's not here.
I agree, but no, I thought it was completely insane. But
no, I have to represent him. Laurent is never wrong.
No, maybe, but. I thought he had a good chance there. Then he played knight G5, and I thought, okay, this is way too much. Of course, Nepham had to find this key move, Queen C6, but he was so stuck. Yeah. Queen C7 to C6 was important, right? I mean, I thought that that you could overlook, but when you start to see that, it's obvious. White has to play very well to be equalish, which he didn't really manage. So, Ding. I spoke for 1 minute now. I could also say I agree fully. Ding did his best to get it sort of get into trouble, right?
Which we are also applauding his fighting spirit, but his filter, how much risk to take, it did seem a little off, especially in the classical sometimes. So it's hard to say. He looked like such a raw player that he would win the match. It feels like a bit of a miracle, but it also speaks, of course, to his pure chess skill, his talent, his resilience, whatever you want to call it. I'm impressed and a bit confused at the same time, because it looked like Nepomniachtchi had everything going for him.
But I do think it's not entirely random, but it's pretty random that this match ended up in tiebreaks.
Yeah,
if you have six decisive games, and at least the last game probably should have been decisive, then you can't really have a set amount of games that you're going to avoid the tiebreaks. No. I think it's just sometimes this is going to happen. Maybe some of the previous matches you could argue that it was more inevitable, but I don't think until quite late in this match, most people didn't expect it really to go to tiebreaks.
No, in this match, it didn't seem impossible to win a game, right? While in other matches, it really felt like it takes really a lot to sort of break the symmetry. Here it seemed, there were 6 decisive games, and there should have been considerably more, as far as I recall, right? I don't know how many, but at least a couple, I would guess, right?
Yeah, for sure.
No, agreed. There were some in the Carlsen-Nepomniachtchi match, and I also saw, I think it was Magnus himself who, maybe it was misquote, but who mentioned, that players aren't playing as tightly in this match, so they're giving more more chances. But to me, it looked like Nepomniachtchi had exactly the same approach as he had against Magnus, like literally the same black repertoire. I'm assuming it was Petrov and knight f6, e6, Nimzo, and knight f3, d5, some solid line against the Catalan. And with white, play e4, look for a small number, a small surprise in these solid structures he feels comfortable in the Ruy Lopez. So it looked like his approach hadn't changed at all. So maybe Ding is the wild card, or it is Nepomniachtchi, because there were some decisive games in the last one as well.
I agree with you fully. I think it's Ding has 90% of the responsibility for it for like this. I also in terms of the concept for last time, very much the same. I mean, with black, it basically seems like drag and drop from the last match. It's basically these assumptions. I have solved chess, and I'm just going to play it like this. And it seems to some extent he has, right?
Yeah, I think it's not rocket science nowadays. You choose the Berlin or the Petrov, prepare really well. Against the Catalan, you choose bishop e7 or dc4, c5, or whatever line you think is simplest, prepare really well, and then you choose a line after knight f3, d5, knight c3. I guess most of the world top can have that repertoire, and especially in a world championship match when it's even better prepared. Of course, it makes it tough, and we could also see Ding, going to some extremes. Like at some point, it felt like after d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5, he wants to try every sideline. Bishop f4, e3, c3, c4, h3.
Before the rapids, I was thinking, is c3 the only thing that is legally left, more or less, right? I
mentioned c3. Yeah. We were at a training session and I said, what about c3, c6, queen c2? He hasn't played that yet.
It wasn't that hard to predict simply based on his strategy, right?
No, even e3 I thought was very, very predictable. Knight f3, d5, e3. Because also, if Nepomniachtchi has shown weakness anywhere chess-wise, I thought it was in the Karlsbad structure. Yeah. Obviously, in the London system game they had, where he made some very strange strategic decisions. Also in this knight f3, e3 game, and even before that, in his game against Magnus in the Sinquefield Cup.
No, that I would say as well, that, you generally praise for Nepomniachtchi for playing well in the match, and I agree. But these two games you mentioned there, this was huge gaps in chess understanding. Or, be it nerves or, mouse slip to put the bishop in d7, I don't know. But at least the moves played, there was something very wrong with, right?
Yeah, I think bishop d7 was just a prep mix-up, but it's, of course, a terrible move. But also, that game he actually played well, the structure afterwards. But the two before that,
beautiful.
I would guess it's just a bit of a childhood thing, because he grew up an e4 player, a Najdorf player, a Grunfeld player. So the Karlsbad structure doesn't really exist in his world, and it was only added now because of the repertoire much later. While me, of course, I was doing the minority attack when I was 12, like rook b1, b4. Not claiming I understand it better than Nepomniachtchi, but it's very much in my system, or since a very young age. Well, for him, I guess it didn't exist.
No, and I agree with that. That's also a bit of my point, that his repertoire, almost seems like a printout of the truth. So he's just playing good things, but he but he doesn't have, as you say, the culture of having played all kind of equalist positions since his youth, right? And that seems to hurt him a bit.
I can definitely relate.
Yeah, it's good. But
I think he also goes the other way. For example, in all these e4, e5 positions where he clearly has a feel, he doesn't need a computer advantage. He just can play a surprise, put the bishop on a2, and it seemed to me like generally he was understanding these positions better than Ding and putting pressure.
Yeah.
It's a bit surprising, actually, just to finish my point, that the score in the Marshall in the end was equal, because it looked like Nepomniachtchi was completely dominating that, but he only won one game and then he lost one, if we're counting the tie breaks. But to me, it felt like there he was usually outplaying Ding, with the exception of game 13, which was, a bit nervy, I guess.
My question earlier in the week to Peter, and maybe you can talk about it, Jan, is why does no one even attempt to play against the real Marshall?
It's very hard. Like, first of all, computer-wise, after c3, d5, you stare at the numbers immediately, and you just assume.
What I mean is you have like 7 whites in this match, so like, you really don't try it once just to make sure they remember everything?
You could. I'm not sure, frankly, how much of a memory test it is nowadays. We're talking about c3, d5, ed, knight d5, knight e5, knight e5, rook e5, let's say c6, and there you switch on your computer, and it will give options for black. So you can just play sort of natural moves, like Lila often gives, I don't know, go bishop d6, go a5, 0-0. So I don't think you can even treat it as a memory test. And I'm pretty sure before every match, people have a look. Has anything changed in the Marshall main lines? Like, can we ask a question somewhere? But it's not like black has to remember 15 moves to get a game. He usually has a choice, and they all work, and I think that's what turns people off. But of course, it could change. And yeah, I also always wonder. Sometimes it works against Magnus when Hikaru's trying to force a draw in one of these rapid matches and plays a Marshall, and Magnus plays something else, and then they have to find some very weird way to make a draw there. But I think on a World Championship level, it's not considered a serious test. Especially if you get good positions with the other stuff, with your 8A4 or 63. Why bother?
I agree. I think that we would generally like to, but no one has been able to find it. It's a little bit the same. Why don't they try the Scotch? Well, they struggle to find an idea, right? I mean, I think it was during WAC. I think Karana's second told me, okay, well, Karana actually played the Scotch against So. He said, it might be the last remaining idea that is in the Scotch, and it was a forced draw anyway. I mean, yeah, people would like to do it, but it seems too simplistic in a way. I mean, I think, no, I mean, if anyone has an idea against the Marshall, that's great for white. I think, tell us, and we can start the bidding, right? Based on our clients. It will be huge. But
but nowadays, it's not like there are these hidden ideas that no one spotted. No, everyone's looking at the same stuff. With the same engine, like you can, of course, argue, maybe you can test this 0-0 line for one game. But I don't think it's considered that much of a memory test, and that goes for most openings. That's why people play these Italians or slow Spanishes, because at least there are pieces on the board and you have some margin.
Also, even if we take the well-known lines, it's rare that they depend on just one solution for black. I mean, black actually has options, right? So, I mean, who is tricking who here, right? So, I mean, I understand you, but, that's not how it works these days. The computer gives the things way too obviously. You can check your correspondence games or whatever exists. It seems to be hard. And I think also, now Jan will probably agree, but also Ding has actually, unlike Magnus, had a bunch of game and accepted Marshall. That was he knows his stuff there, right? I mean,
that's in his system, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so
fair enough.
No, again, I mean, there might have been people searching for 2 weeks for an idea. They just didn't manage, would be, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm sure someone in the team will have clicked on some moves there, but it's difficult. It's not a coincidence. This is played in 3 of the last 4 World Championship matches, and no one touched it. Like, people are aware.
No, and also to agree with Jan, I think, on the contrary, Team Nepom deserves praise. They actually managed to get quite good positions against Ding, was my impression, right?
Yeah, and they also managed to get Ding out of book, which, of course, I was always yelling about. Prep should be deeper and so on. But if we're being honest, like, they're going for random positions where the computer shows equality. So it's sort of understandable from Ding's perspective that it's not considered such a high priority. It just felt like Nepomniachtchi was stronger in these positions. Like, also better prep, but also often, he just understood them better.
Do you think this is because he knew about all of Ding's prep, or?
No, you're trying
the first half at least.
Transition to the league, but I don't think there was that much Marshall information in there. But yeah, we should talk about that. I'm not sure if you have on the recaps, which are on the fantastic Chicken Chess Club YouTube channel. I haven't seen a single one of them, but I'm told they're great. Like, there's stuff from the golf course. Dodgy's there, muted. I heard good things.
No. I mean, we are saving the best,
the highest quality.
Yeah. It's. I wanted to say something, but now I forgot. I wanted to say that. Well, I think actually, if you look at it in sort of terms of evolution, that with white they have gotten to a rather, sort of one of the final levels of evolution in terms of strategy, right? No one was basically trying to be better. They were just pounding with the surprise value all the time, more or less, right? Or maybe Nepom was a little bit, but...
Well, Nepomniachtchi was in a way. He was principled. No, I'm not sure if he was arguing.
No.
Because you have to change lines every game, more or less, but he's stuck to the territory and saying, I cannot play you there. Well, yeah, for Ding, of course, that could have gone hand in hand with the leak for listeners that haven't heard about the leak. When was it? At some point around after game 10, maybe? It came out.
I thought after 4 white games, so it would be 8 or 9. Yeah, during
game 8 already. Yeah. After the Nimzo E3 A3 game, I think, whatever that one was. It came out that I think in the lead chess database, someone had just entered the rare move Rook A2, which was played in the game, or you just followed the game, and then the games played with that move showed up, and someone counter-checked it against the other stuff played in the match, and it turned out there were two 1500 accounts playing pretty much the whole match prep in February, way before the match. And you didn't need to be a genius to figure out that those were Ding and most likely his main helper. Rapport could have been somebody else. But I had a look and there was very little doubt in my mind that it was someone from the team, most likely Ding himself. And
0% chance it's not. I mean,
yeah. I think it's pretty much as 100% as these things can get. And that's not great, because there were serious ideas in there, also some that weren't used in the match, or not so much ideas, but also directions that, I mean, we don't have to quote it all here, but it's a horrible, horrible leak. I think much worse than the ones that Fabi had.
Or completely different level.
Like having a face in some video or whatever. There was very specific stuff. And especially with white, it looked like there was an idea, for example, against the Petrov in there, which now you can obviously throw away. Bunch of stuff in the English, some more D4 stuff. And with white, where you're depending on surprise value, that is, I thought, a big problem. And we could see it a bit in Ding's remaining games. Like, it got a bit more desperate, this D4, knight of 3, E3, C3, whatever he was doing.
No, I mean, it generally looked like he had prepared like 8 one-game ideas. And there still was like, I think, there was one you didn't mention in the English, perhaps also the King's Indian attack, right? But it was, I mean, he was exposed to such a massive extent that I thought you cannot repeat any of this. I mean, it's, they were all based on surprise value. It's, it was kind of tragic, but... yeah, maybe it didn't hurt him too much in a way, but it hurt to some extent, was my feeling.
Nah, it must have hurt. Yeah. Like he won, but I mean, not just that you can't use these ideas anymore, but also the added stress that, first of all, you have to think about how bad it is, then you ideally have to find new ideas, or you have to think of something to play during the match. I mean, he really played the World Championship on super hard mode, like, because he thought, okay, on normal, it's too easy.
It must have been incredibly distracting for him as well. But also, I wonder, so the 4H3 idea was in there as well.
Yeah, many games.
And I think you can find that. Like, if you dig around early in the match, if Nepom actually had someone that was, like, really checking this stuff, he could have found it in game 2. You could have found those accounts.
Yeah, I think they got lucky it didn't leak earlier.
Well, we
after the H3 game.
Yeah, we don't know, but generally, yes. I mean, someone should be checking. Maybe after H3, the way they played it didn't appear in the base, and no one cared to check about H3 or to that extent. But no, it's a good point. Why didn't people find out earlier? You could argue, right? It's
well, they did. If I was Team Nepomniachtchi, I wouldn't yell about it if I found out.
No, exactly. We don't know. Yeah, but if Team Nepomniachtchi found out about it, I mean, then they would have spotted the Nimsu idea, then they would have prepared better. That is my deduction for it. It was unlikely.
Well, it was fairly well prepared, but it looked like there was overall prep and not specific.
Well, exactly. I mean, if he was actually prepared against Rook A2, it's already impressive. But, I mean, if you know your opponent is going to be like that, I'm sure you can optimize much harder than what they did, right? So, I mean, I think it's obvious. Well, to debate if it was a leak makes zero sense. I think also Ding confirmed it. But that they didn't know, I think is also rather obvious, right?
Yeah. And we should maybe also explain a bit big picture. It's not so much about the moves themselves. Even Rook A2 is the first line of the computer, for example, but about the directions you want to go. Because even if you've covered everything, it helps so much to know specifically this is happening. And there's a big difference between white and black, which maybe is also not obvious, but Peter mentioned earlier with the surprise value. Your black repertoire is pretty much out in the open in most of these World Championship matches. And you're just saying, well, I'll play these lines, everything holds, good luck trying to hit me. But that's why it's so crucial that where you're trying to hit, or at least to surprise with white, is a secret. Because if you give anybody who's half competent at clicking the button, I don't know, half an hour and the direction that's going to happen, like he can tell you, okay, do this.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Carolina leak barely hurt them, is my impression. I mean, it must have been annoying for them, but it also was weird for us. This one is a completely different magnitude. It was just purely hurting Ding, and I think it was obvious. And I think Jan explained it extremely well, actually.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's get to the teams. Speaking of leaks, no big surprises. I think, talked about it a bit on the last episode, maybe. On Team Nepomniachtchi, some of his established helpers, Vityugov, I think, was there, even very public. Matlakov was with him, for example, in Düsseldorf. Those are two of his core guys. I think Khairulin is always in the mix. I'm not sure he was confirmed afterwards. He was.
Yeah, he was.
And
okay.
Kramnik we speculated about because we had heard mumblings, but it was made official after the match. I don't know to what extent Kramnik was involved, if maybe there was also a bit of PR that they got some sponsor, I don't know. I did notice that Kramnik was very active. Like right before the match, he played this Armageddon in Berlin and also played every other tournament you could play online. On one day he played, I think, the Champions Chess Tour, the Armageddon, and Title Tuesday in one day. And during the match, he did a lot of commentary. So he clearly wasn't sitting there clicking full time.
He also played a tournament, right?
He did play the tournament in Astana, and then, when he wasn't playing, he did commentary. So it didn't look like he was too busy, but of course, with his experience and wealth of knowledge, maybe beforehand, or he chipped in every now and then. I'm not sure. Did you guys hear anything?
No, I'm generally disconnected, I would say. So, no, I don't know. I mean, I heard also the names. I mean, Kramnik was floated around at some point and seemed to be confirmed, right? No, nothing particular else. I think Ding, he mentioned that he had some computer guys as well in some transcript of an interview I saw, but no specifics.
His local laptop store told him, yes, this graphic card you can run Leela on. That's the kind of computer guys.
Yeah, no, I don't know, to be honest. But it's true. It doesn't, I mean, well, one doesn't get the impression that he had universities in China running advanced search algorithms, right? I mean, so...
Yeah, I think we've had that debate. I don't think you really need the computing power if you have a remote engine with Stockfish 15.1 and Leela or whatever you choose. But also the pictures from his team, once again, you could have the helpers sitting somewhere else. But I really felt like everything they said and also the prep, everything always felt like it's Richie and him and then his family. I mean, it's a beautiful story, and these pictures were so heartwarming, but it's also incredibly unserious to just choose Rapport, who's not a theoretician, to hang out and go to a World Championship match.
Yeah, I like it in the sense that you understand that, well, if you're going to do it the normal way, they're going to be better than me anyway. So at least let me do something completely different, at least. But it's also puzzling to me. I mean...
I think he's just trying to maximize the money.
You think
this is how you get
yeah.
this is how you get a Netflix movie out of it. Like you have to do it in the weirdest way possible, and like if Nepo wins, there's not going to be a movie made about it realistically. But
depends where.
I would watch the Ding movie now, but I would think it's a little bit over the top. It's too much. Like
also the t-shirts who Rapport is wearing, like no one's gonna believe all this nonsense.
No, but they were true. At some point I thought he was a parody account, but no, he was wearing new t-shirts every day.
I like to style, yeah. Like get out the way nerd or something instead of one. Like,
Also. I mean, I would never do such a thing like a second because I thought he would, freak out the player. But the Rapport does it. I mean, no, you cannot help loving it. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
no, it was beautiful and it worked. So yeah, the sports movie I would definitely watch. Also, I now read, I think my client chess.com mentioned that Ding was doing his usual thing, which we've seen at many tournaments. To go to dinner and lunch alone, sit there by himself. Does he just hate company while he's eating, or did Richie say, I'm busy? I don't understand it.
I don't know. I mean, their friendship seemed very genuine and very sweet.
Much so, yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's just his routine at tournaments.
I can sort of understand it at lunch before the game.
No, but also, I mean, at least sit in your own secluded area. I mean, it sounded like he sat and anyone could come and bother him if they wanted to, right?
Yeah, but it's been the same in Vike. He was always in the hotel having dinner by himself, and I always felt sad for him. And I thought, okay, I don't know him enough to ask if he wants to join us, but maybe it's just how he likes it.
Yeah, he seemed happy enough. But I saw Yu Yang Yi in CHS doing the same thing. He was just sitting having lunch on his own every day.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it goes against everything we have learned in a way to sort of protect him and stuff like this. But
no, for me, it's not so much about learning, but maybe just people are different. I'm very uncomfortable sitting in a restaurant by myself. Well, yeah, I don't know. It seems like, it works for Ding. He is the chess world champion.
Well, he did leave the hotel after game 1 though, so who knows? I mean,
is this going to be like the thing with Magnus before? Magnus does something, we have to accept that it's correct because he's the world champion. And now anytime Ding does something, we're like, okay, he's the world champion, he must know something.
But also, especially in the case of Magnus, but I think it also applies to Ding. Often these guys are just incredibly good at chess, and then they do some nonsense, and then we say, they have this genius formula. Well, they're really just incredibly good at chess, and it compensates for the nonsense.
No, I think so. That's also, we speak about all these, that they're very good at coming back after losses and such. I mean, it basically seems to come down to, make a couple of good chess moves, and that kind of helps at the right time. But I don't know. I had always had this general point that in all World Championship matches I could remember, the one playing the best chess actually won in the end. This one is a bit more blurry,
it's
right?
unclear, right?
Yeah.
Because Nepomniachtchi, I think, his average quality of moves is higher, but his blunders are probably also more hurtful, and it's hard to say how to balance it out.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we will focus on Ding playing knight g5 and giving him these chances. But also, I mean, Nepomniachtchi had several ways of taking the chances, and he didn't do it, right? So it's...
and f5, rook takes e6 in game 12, and some of the other moments, they were rough as well.
Well, in terms on where are we on the scale, I mean, we all sort of not remember, but have read about Bronstein being that close to a world championship, but he blundered this pawn ending or whatever it was with Botvinnik, right? I mean,
sort of outplayed, by these two bishops, but
maybe, but I mean, Nepomniachtchi is much worse, right? I mean, this is one of the who else has been that close and not managing?
Wasn't Schlechter very close?
Okay, he was leading by, was it +1? But it was a bit unclear.
It's unclear if he needed +2 or +1. A lot of stuff unclear there. But
I mean, I think this one we will take as you showing off your...
I would say Leko was pretty close, no? Needed a draw against Vladi in the last game.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Nepom was technically...
Kayakin? Not as close, maybe, but similar. +1 with 3 to go.
Yeah. But, I mean, Nepom was +1, but was completely winning in game 12. And with the score being equal, he was completely winning in game 14, right? I mean...
he had multiple chances also, even before that.
I cannot recall anything like that in sort of, since, I don't know. Well, really...
Chigorin.
Last 100 years.
Chigorin was a piece up against Steinitz and allowed mate in 2. He needed a draw, I think it was. Yeah. Anyway, that's 1892.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I did a kind of troll tweet about whether Nepo is the best player never to become world champion. And it was mostly a joke because, he could still become world champion. And I got a lot of serious replies to it, which I always forget that people take things seriously. But I think that maybe, obviously a lot of people think, Fabi's higher than him, Korch now, probably maybe Levon as well. But I think that if he was to win the candidates again next year, which at the moment he's the only one who's qualified, I think that puts him way ahead of anyone else.
Fabi, rating-wise, he has a much better track record. He had a much closer match against Magnus. He only won the candidates once, but he was very, very close in the one. Kayakin won, and he had a meltdown in this one. But hard to say. Not over the last 4 years, maybe, because obviously Nepomniachtchi did win 2 candidates, but historically I'd still go with Fabi's track record, also Super Tournament wins and ratings.
Even if Jan wins the third one?
No, at some point, of course, it will get close, and Jan is currently the number 2.
We're talking of all times, or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think if he wins the next one, he's clear best never to win it.
Well, I
Assuming
would
he doesn't
argue
win.
that Jan has never been the best player in the world. There must be someone who's been the best player in the world but didn't become the world champion.
Well, neither has Fabi, you could argue, but
But he was closer, at least. I mean, in ratings and things like this. But of course, also maybe this Magnus situation becomes a little bit weird. I
also during Kasparov's 20 years, nobody else has been the best player in the world. No, we often
No.
have a dominant guy, but doesn't mean that Kramnik or Vichy were bad.
No, not at all. But no. To rate him as the strongest ever is a bit much. I wanted to make one point as well. I will probably just as well do it here. I think Nepom is the only one in modern time who has lost world championship matches to multiple opponents and never won the title. It felt counterintuitive to me, but I cannot come up with any names.
Well, Topalov technically is true, as Dodgy pointed out earlier.
Yeah, depends on... Well, I also saw in the preview, or in the start, you said...
argue he won the title.
You said Ding is the 17th world champion. I mean, that is not official, but I kind of agree with you in a way. But
I would say it's fairly established. The classical line now goes Karpov, Kasparov, Kramnik, Anand, Carlsen, Ding, no? I mean... Topalov, of course, he won this World Championship tournament in St. Louis, but since he lost the unification match, the famous Toilet Gate match, I don't think he's in that line. I would still count him as world champion, but yeah, not in that line. But it's a weird case.
Well, but then it becomes like you start calculating him because you say he won a round robin with the strongest player in the world, while I don't know.
Yeah, also just on pure achievement, he was. For a while there, I think, fairly clearly the number one by rating. I'm not sure if that's true. When Kasparov retired, he wasn't.
He was clearly the number one. I guess that's what puts him in a different spot from the guys who won the knockouts, is that Topalov clearly was world number one, whereas the others...
Okay, I will disagree. Well, I was Vichy's second at the point. We didn't see it like that. But of course, in St. Louis...
No, not by rating, but at some point, yeah, his results, at least, they weren't weaker than Vichy's and Kramnik's, I think.
Yeah, but on the rating list, he was. He was
Could be as well.
For quite a long time, I think. Maybe a year, 2.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but yeah, I think the classical line, there is very little debate, of course, since Magnus didn't play. But these cases we've had earlier, also no one debates Karpov as part of the line, since Fischer didn't play.
No.
But yeah, I don't know, I haven't looked up if there are any answers to your question. We talked about it before, if anybody lost 2 matches to different opponents and never became world champion. I don't know. Polvinnik, of course, lost to 5 guys, but he also became world champion many times.
Well, Vichy has lost to Magnus and Kasparov, for instance, right? But he has also won a bunch, right? So Spassky has lost to, I guess, Fischer and Petrosyan, right? Yeah.
Yeah, also world champion.
Exactly. No, I mean, maybe it's a good sign for Jan that, his time will come, it seems. But
but this time, of course, must hurt.
Yeah.
So much more. I'm sure he was unhappy after the Magnus match, but it wasn't very close.
No.
With hindsight, but it looked like he had learned his lessons. I think he actually improved as a player. His repertoire got tighter. Probably his organization improved. And not to be able to do it this time must be very rough.
Yeah.
But also, we were also talking a bit off air. Who do we think is the number 2 player in the world right now? If we're assuming Magnus is still number 1, which I guess is very fair.
Ali Reza?
Well, Ali Reza...
No, active players only.
yeah, true.
Sorry, I'm being Laurent today. So.
Yeah, sorry. No, I mean, excellent, I have to admit. Well, I mean, Ali Reza, Caruana, Nakamura, Nepomniachtchi, Ding. Okay, let me just say...
That order? Wow.
No. I'm talking about people who you could argue. Could you say Geary if you want to? I don't know. I'm just trying to be extremely kind. I don't know. I mean, there is... MVL, probably not. Isn't that...
shots fired.
Shots fired, yeah. I don't know. Up to Satsuma.
Only players in the top 30.
Yeah.
No, yeah, because this match doesn't seem like it's giving a clear answer. No, Nepomniachtchi remains number 2 in the rating list. Recent results also favor Nepomniachtchi. He did win candidates back-to-back. He did win, or did share first in Düsseldorf.
Yeah.
And while Ding hasn't played much.
He has a lot of silver medals as well, like World Rapid and Blitz silver medals.
So we still like to think of it as Fabi, but we also live in the past a bit, no? It's no longer 2018. And recently Fabi, although in my mind he's still up there, he hasn't shown us, has he? Like, even in the rating list, I don't know where he is. He's number 7 or something.
I agree, but it's also like, I mean, well, Ding
We still believe Fabi.
No, well, I would say that, I mean, I still rate Ding as a great chess player, but it's actually not because of this match. It's mainly, I'm still stuck in 2019, I think. I mean, well, it's not like you will say, okay, based on this match, it's obvious Ding is number 1 or 2 in the world, right? I mean...
No, I think we have to go with whoever won the last big super tournament where everybody played.
Congratulations, Aronian. We had forgotten him, it's true.
No, Magnus didn't play Düsseldorf.
Okay.
Okay, but in like recent matches, based on recent form, if you were going to decide who is number 2 based on who would give Magnus the toughest time, isn't it Hikaru?
You mean on the board or? Like...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, most of his success, I guess, has been online, but like, if it's 1-1 in a match at the moment, like Hikaru's been beating him more often than anyone.
Repeat that once more. You're never coming back on this show, I think. But no, I don't know.
I didn't say a niche. Like,
no, fair enough. Well, you could be right, but also, I mean, it's not like Magnus and Hikaru has played a classical game. I cannot recall, to be honest.
No, but in Rapid and Blitz recently, there's been quite a few matches, and
yeah, I'm not sure if it's fair to call Hikaru even stronger in that discipline, and yeah, that's been amazingly close. And I'm pretty sure the world would love to see that match. I'm not sure if I'm ready to choose Hikaru ahead of, let's say, Fabi or Ding or Nepomniachtchi in that category, especially because, Nepomniachtchi and Caruana, they also have the experience and the teams and so on. And this match against Fabi, we might live in the past, but it felt pretty tough. I mean,
yeah,
in 2018, and it's not like Magnus rolled all over him.
No, in general, I mean, this match is seen as much more exciting, I guess. I thought 2018 was extremely exciting and pretty high level. Is it just because I would like to think so, or do you agree with that?
Some extent, like, I think there's also always a bit of revisionist history that we forget about the mistakes and just think how great it was. I think if you go through it game by game, like, okay, in the first game, Magnus is winning with black, then he messes up, then he's much worse in one of these slow Rossolimos because he makes some strange move and Fabi lets him escape, and it's a draw. Then he mixes up the move order in this first 95 Sveshnikov and is lost. Fabi lets him escape. Then with white, in one of these Petrovs, he's lost. He gets outplayed in the endgame, and so on. So I can think of a lot of spots, but maybe that's because I was sweating them, where it wasn't like this high-level play, 2 geniuses just neutralizing each other. But yeah, I guess I haven't done the math. If you do a mistake or blunder count, these matches will rate higher on quality than the current one. But it's not like everything was flawless in the Magnus matches. Also, if you look at game number 6 against Nepomniachtchi, which now I think Dubov called the greatest chess game he's ever seen. Like between move 30 and 40, the variation is all over the place. No, Magnus is lost, then it's a draw, then Magnus is better, then it's equal again, and so on.
Also, it's a bit by design, right? I mean, Magnus played free himself and lost to Kayakin. If you do stuff like this, I mean, the error rate will go up automatically rather than you play some position you have played all your life, right? So it's... the Ding was doing it on purpose, but
very much so. Yeah. And also it worked, especially with white. He had a massive plus score. No, he should just have learned his black openings a little bit. But yeah, I think that's an important point. That if you try to take your opponent out of your comfort zone, you also very often have to go outside of your own comfort zone. And of course, guys will be better if they play structures they played all their lives or openings that both have analyzed till move 20. Than if you're sort of freestyling in random positions after move 3 or 4.
But while I praised you for some prediction, my guess is that we are all gonna look very bad if talking about Ding's wide openings, right? None of us. We would say English. We would say. Let's just annoy Lamy, who said, well, you don't know which opening, but the bishop is gonna end up on G2. He actually.
Well, that one I fought back against because I think Ding is a fairly complete. D4 player and play a lot of D4, C4, E3 Nimzos or Knight 3, Knight C3. So, no, I think we were right. He wouldn't touch E4. There was a decoy. The length to which he would go to get playable d4 positions with h3 and 3e3, 3e3, and so on. Yeah, I don't think we saw coming. But the general direction, play d4 or c4 and try to surprise.
Yeah.
I
Maybe.
mean, that's the rapport and the leak factor maybe made it a bit more extreme than we had imagined. But I don't think it was too crazy. I would have thought it's a bit more theoretical.
You think that Ding just decided from day one, this is my strategy, that's what I'm going to do? Or they actually tried to find something and that didn't manage in a way?
I think they were winging it game by game. No?
Yeah.
Of course, they had some ideas, as we could see in the leak, but I don't think the strategy was we do this in game 2, this in game 4, and so on.
So you actually buy this thing that, Ding tells Rapport, I would like to play the French, what do you think? This is how it works, simply.
Sounded like everything sounded so genuine. I've seen the pictures. I've seen Richie hanging out there with Ding's family. Why would they lie to us?
No, I mean, no. If they are completely bullshitting us, I mean, it's incredibly good theater by them, right? I mean, no, they complete. I mean, others we would. Let's take a Kramnik press conference. You will not believe a word, right? But here it just seems like they're telling the truth.
Seemed like it. Maybe it was all an acting job, and there was just a team.
Yeah.
Of 15 Chinese GMs sitting there with a university supercomputer feeding Ding all the hottest 0-0 lines. Yeah. But it didn't look like that over the board.
No. I don't get it. Oh.
No, I mean, that would be an incredible performance if the whole thing was just an act and they just got Richie. Yeah, come hang out in Kazakhstan for 2 weeks, pretend that you're the only person here.
Yeah. No, also like Ding, I mean, he was not faking. He was mentally unstable in the beginning, right? I mean...
No, it's also, you can... Even Ding seems so genuine, it's hard to believe. But even if you faked it, like the moves did speak the same language.
Yeah, exactly. No, just, what's not to like? What to say? Yeah.
Yeah, it was heartwarming. I had which is silly in a way, of course, because Ding is an amazing world-class player. And he also mentioned, he's been playing chess since he's 4 years old and he's tried everything to improve at the game for 26 years. So the common denominator with all the nonsense we're talking is that these people have spent a lot of hours working incredibly hard on mastering the craft. But I had, you can't help but having these parental instincts for poor Ding, sitting there having dinner alone, and then his prep gets leaked, and then he doesn't know his marshal, and then he plays d4, knight f3, e3, or doesn't know, maybe c3. Yeah, maybe h3 we played already. I mean, you couldn't help but feel for the guy, which is a bit weird because he's an amazing top chess player who just won the world championship.
But I think,
but there was a bit of naivety there, I think.
But I mean, Dodgy made the point that with Magnus, we give him credit for this looks weird, but he was the world champion, so that was right. While with Ding, we still seem to think, this is just weird, right? I mean...
Yeah, like I said, with Magnus also, I think he's just very, very good at chess, which
that kind of
justifies all the other stuff he does, if it's good or bad. But
stuff like having to change hotels, I think...
on the day of the first round.
It's striking that, and him coming out of the hotel carrying his own bags, for example.
Yeah, but that's also, I mean, Magnus would get, someone down the hierarchy like me actually carrying his suitcase as a minimum, right? I mean,
but in this situation, you have to, right? You can't have distractions like that. You should have someone there that takes care of this stuff. And I think
really
it is.
Shouldn't move on playing day.
I think, yeah.
Hang out in that suite for 3 more hours, Ding. You can move at night.
No, I don't know.
You have just someone there that just make sure your hotel room is right. Make sure you play on an anonymous account. These basic stuff.
I should think so. No, I mean,
I can't imagine either of these things happening to Magnus or...
No, I mean, I'm sure Magnus would have someone go and test the hotel in advance and stuff like this. Unfortunately, that's not in my sort of portfolio. But, I mean, these things will be taken care of. You will have
Laurent and I always went to a great length to make sure we're in Thailand ahead of time. Yeah. Everything is set up there properly.
Yeah.
The hotel suites are properly tested. That we know the restaurants to go to. We took these things very, very seriously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, Magnus wasn't there, but I mean...
No, I mean, we even went that we're sending all you guys to Thailand. What happens if you all get quarantined for 2 weeks at customs, right? I mean, we did have a plan B.
It was a risk, but it had to be taken.
Yeah, I would have to spacebar a bit harder then, but we would have managed, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the main criticism of Ding's team is that I don't think they had a single person in Thailand. for the whole match.
No, that is true.
Yeah, that is just careless. It's not like we didn't offer.
No.
But he won.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, again, from what we hear, it almost would have been sent to give Laurent a call, but you can't really argue with success, right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fairy tale. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Again,
No, congratulations
yeah.
to world champion Ding Liren.
Yep.
I'll see them. I'm going to, where is it, Bucharest on Thursday to the Grand Chess Tour. And Ding and Nepomniachtchi are both supposed to play, as is Richard Rapport. And, even more surprisingly, Ali Reza is in the field.
But we should get... Can't you ask Ding to join our podcast? I cannot see him saying no. He's too polite.
Yeah, I can ask.
Yeah, it'll be a bit awkward.
Why not?
But,
Why not?
Yeah.
Could be a little awkward that we have to kick Dodgy out. I'm not sure who will tell him.
No. Cannot listen.
Okay, but I'm also going to an important super tournament this week.
Wow.
So I can bring my own stars.
Where are you going? To Sigemund?
I'm going to the Sigemund tournament on Thursday
Wow.
with all the important players like Gukesh and Arjun. And okay, I'm just going to hang out with Svidler for a few days. That's the main reason.
Does he know?
Beautiful.
He'll figure it out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
He's also very polite. He doesn't tell you.
No, that's maybe...
Please go away.
Maybe true, yeah.
I was wondering if, because his Grand Chess Tour field is pretty cool, but it doesn't have Magnus or any of the kids, would be a very Magnusian move as well to just schedule a tournament with him and all the kids. No, like, can't they make Sigemund that, have Abdu Satorov and Carlsen join? Sorry, Svidler Gelfand, you're out. You can hang out with Mr Dodgy.
Yeah, that would be fun. I mean, it's a fun field, but yeah, definitely. In general, my experience has been is that if you get Magnus to play in a tournament, people are more interested in it. So it does increase the viewership a little bit.
Okay, yeah. I don't think Sigemund tournament would be particularly against it, but...
Are you taking thinly veiled shots at viewership numbers for this World Championship match?
Me?
No, Dodgy.
No, okay.
No, I meant my own tournament.
Okay.
Fair enough.
For the Mr. Dodgy tournament.
Yeah,
got it.
That's my experience. No, I think the viewership for the match was pretty decent. It was less than the previous match, even though, we can do the FIDE segment, but Emil did say it was record-breaking viewership on Game 14. I'm not sure which record was broken, but I'm not sure it was a real one.
I think Yanistan TV had record numbers in its World Championship coverage. But it was also its first World Championship coverage. I'm sure you can find other cases where...
Maybe it was record-breaking for Game 14 in a World Championship match, actually, because...
Yeah, that was Miro's joke. It was the
the
most viewed Game 14
damn it.
ever. But.
Sorry.
No, so the chess world will keep moving. I'm a bit surprised that both Nepomniachtchi and Ding actually agreed to play this Grand Chess Tour thing. I mean, World Championship matches, they must be kind of taxing, no? It looked like they went through a bit of stress. Maybe it's what they do and it's a relief, but I would need a holiday.
I think, didn't Caruana make this point at some point? That he played... I forgot the name. Some town in Germany relatively shortly after.
Baden-Baden?
No, it actually... Well, you're right. It ended up in Baden-Baden. It started some other city. I forgot.
Karlsruhe, Baden-Baden.
Karlsruhe, Baden-Baden. And his argument was that if I lose the match, I would really like to play something. And if they win the match, I'm so happy anyway that it doesn't matter, or something like that.
But I thought he played that before the match. And then...
Yeah, something is not... Maybe it was what it was about candidates. I think it was after the candidates tournament.
It was he had a full...
He decided something like that.
Schedule after candidates.
Maybe it's the same here. Just that, if I'm the world champion, things are so great anyway. And if I'm not, it makes sense to keep going. And
but I guess it's because it's also because it's part of the tour.
Yeah, so, I think with the tour, the problem is that it's all or nothing. So it's not like you're saying no to just one event, right?
Yeah, because I think all the core players, they have to play the classical events. So if you want to play the rest of them, you have to play this one and the Singfield Cup.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
Yeah, so there's that. Nepomniachtchi, Ding, Ali Reza, Giri, So, Fabi, MVL, Rapport, Duda, and Dirk. Pretty rough to win chess.
Pretty cool event. And this is classical?
It's classical, yeah.
Wow.
My first time in Bucharest.
Okay.
Curious.
Are you commentating or?
I work for Anish. Don't tell anybody.
This is what kind of... okay. No. I mean, so far you had very polarizing result, right? Either he is a great success or less so, right? So I don't know which Anish are we going to see? You're not going to tell me, right? No.
I can't tell you.
No.
I can't tell you.
But those are his usual results, right? He either does amazing or terribly. Like, there's no in between with Anish.
Exactly. Yeah, good. I'm getting a lot of support.
I'll tell him to be a little steadier. Maybe tone it down a bit.
Tone it down a bit. Good. We'll see solid Anish. I'll look forward to that. But somehow, it's going to be interesting with the two World Championship candidates playing there, right? I mean, one of them is the world champion now, obviously. But,
also Richie.
Yeah, Richie as well. Richie Ding. You think that's going to be...
And Ali Reza. I think it's going to be fun, actually.
What do you predict the Richie Ding game, actually? It's going to be a draw?
I think they'll just fight. They're too genuine.
Yeah.
Or they will say, no, we're family now. We can't play. We don't care what you think. But it's not going to be carefully orchestrated. Then it's just going to be 5 minutes draw.
It's not legal,
but
right?
My best guess is they'll fight.
Yeah. Also, if it's like round 1 or something, they're probably exhausted. So, because they'll have to travel like today or tomorrow.
It's literally
kind of like
starting.
It's a tough schedule.
Yeah,
gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah, so the chess world will keep spinning. There's also the Russian Team Championship, which I don't know much about. Today, at the time of recording, May the 1st, there is the Champions Chess Tour qualifier, which I think Laurent is playing. So that's exciting. What else is on our list? The Junior Power Rankings. I know nothing about Pranav, but his winning rating left and right. Where does he rank?
Number 13.
Mr. Dodgy, you added this. Tell us. How old is he? 13?
No, he's 16, but he's
16.
ranked number 13 now.
In the Junior Power Rankings.
He's gained 6. Yeah, he's gained 63 points in April. Which is pretty good.
That's not bad. Also, I heard there's now 2 juniors called Pranav. It's getting tough.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do about it, but...
I don't think there's a way. No, other than that, I don't know. Looks like Abdusatorov and Gukesh still in the lead, but it could change with any tournament.
Still Ali Reza.
Ali Reza, if we count him. But to me, he's an in-between generation.
When did he last play? Like, is this another 6-month break he's had? Or?
Sinkerfield?
He played Sinkerfield, St. Louis Rapid Blitzer was in August.
So it's more than 6 months.
No? Yeah, that's like 10 months.
Okay, it's actually impressive. I mean, he's either going to be very well prepared or no.
Well, he could be very well prepared, but still rusty, no? That's how he looked in the candidates a bit, because he also took a long break before that one.
I recall him as being completely obsessed on loving chess, right? It's kind of weird.
He might still be. It might just be that he's working all the time and playing Blitz, and just... Then in between he has fashion classes, and maybe finds it hard to find tournaments, but he is in this Grand Chess Tour.
Yeah, maybe he just said, I'm going to do the tour. That's me. I mean, I don't know.
He could also just show up and destroy everybody. No, I wouldn't be surprised if he won. Very hard to predict how he's going to do. Also, what he's going to wear. Like, so many questions. All right, shall we get to the Peter segments? Anything happening in your correspondence career?
I think so. I think I even won a game since last time, so I'm on 3.5 out of 4.
Wow,
but
that's pretty good.
Yeah, thanks a lot. But I think I have done the math, and if sort of the computer guys beats the non-computer guys, which is perhaps not unlikely,
which they will.
I might lose on 8th tiebreak on a free-weight tie. So I need something else to happen as far as I could see. But also, I'm not sure I fully understand the tiebreak system, but that's how I see it. So that's more or less
Is the tiebreak based on who uses which engine? Or?
Yeah, that would be reasonable. No. I mean, well, we're all going to have the same tiebreak, but at some point it becomes that the decision is going to be the tiebreak of your opponent's tiebreaks. And there I might have beaten someone who is going to end up with having beaten one of the other weaker players and not drawn some of the stronger players. So it might go wrong on the tiebreaks of my tiebreak at some point. But that would be...
Sorry, I got so bored. I'll leave already. The feeder segment is coming up next.
Yeah.
See you guys
Bye-bye.
soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Well, are we gonna sit and trash talk FIDE together, or are you like?
Yeah, of course. I'm not leaving for the
No,
FIDE
I was
segment.
no.
This
I
is
was
the only
basically-
reason I'm here.
I was planning to not say something about FIDE today because I thought they had a rough day yesterday. But I mean, I think the chess world got lucky yesterday in terms of that. Had Nepomniachtchi won, it would be impossible that not some kind of propaganda activities would happen in Russia with him. I mean, to which degree, we don't know. I mean, of course, there would be the usual greetings from Peskov. There might be celebrations and stuff like that. And I mean, well, while I can feel pity for Nepomniachtchi as a person losing a world championship match like that, I think for the general chess community, it's better like that. Maybe it would have been an interesting case in principle to see how things would go, but I would much rather have it didn't happen in terms of the chess world.
I don't know if I totally agree with you there, because I think Nepomniachtchi has spoken out against the war. I think he's been pretty clear that he is against it. And
I get your point, but
his words will be seen by more Russians than anyone else's. Anything we say is absolutely dwarfed by what Jan says, and I think it matters that he has made his feelings pretty clear that he is not in support of the war. And I think it, to some extent, I understand that he can be used as propaganda in the way that, the media can choose to portray him in the way they want to without directly quoting him. But I think it becomes much more difficult if he was the world champion, because it affords him a certain amount of protection. And he has said what he said. He's definitely not pro-war by any.
No, that I understand. He's not, and I think genuinely so. But it hasn't. I don't think it has been mentioned a lot in Russia in that way. And that, well, I mean, for instance, the match TV coverage is on a very nationalistically minded channel who is following him, and that he's giving interviews to and such. I mean, I cannot imagine any of the sort of viewers, unless they have actually searched for it, would find his quotes in that way. I mean, I think that, what they would see is sort of, a Russian winning, celebrations with sponsors, officials, and things like that. But no, I agree. We would not see him make very strong statements. And how he would deal, was he invited by their president? I have no clue, for instance. That might be a very tricky spot for him in some sense. I understand this is a very tough chess-wise event for him, but on a long-term personal level, he might have been saved for some discomfort, or that could spin out of control as well. But we will never see that, obviously. I would say for FIDE, I think it's also not too bad that that he didn't win. In terms of again, it could come a bit out of control for them now. Well, there's not going to be a lot of celebrations in Russia, and I think it's important to understand how important a world championship match is for FIDE financially. That's really a huge part of their income. So, I mean, that this happened, and I have spoken a lot about their sponsors. It is good for FIDE if you sort of believe in the FIDE as it is now. I mean, this means the machinery can go on for quite a while. You can keep supporting federations. I think I called it soft bribery online, and I kind of stand by that. But for FIDE as the institution is now, I'm pretty sure they see this World Championship as a positive event in terms of that. It was a necessary hurdle to get over. They managed to get their income. It didn't blow up in any kind of particular way, and so on and so forth. So I think they are both happy and relieved in a way.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Although I'm not really sure what kind of negative effects they could have, because I don't think they're super reliant on people being that interested in the match. I think it's good that people want to sponsor chess, but I don't believe very many of the sponsors are particularly concerned with viewership. Yeah. Which is unfortunate, because I think there's a lot of big companies at the moment that would be interested in sponsoring a match on that scale.
No, that is interesting, actually, to have someone. I mean, this is your world. You know much more about media and sponsorship than I do. That, my argument would always be that, sure, we get the money, but we could actually, we are not making it into a commercial product, which is kind of should be. I mean, you see the sponsor, they have done incredibly little to get attention, is my impression, right? I mean, it seems more like they're doing it because, well, it's cheap or we don't really care. While, isn't the World Championship match a very commercialized product if you do it correctly?
Yeah, for sure. And I think if you compare it to the Champions Chess Tour, for example, who brings in sponsors like Puma, MasterCard, why are these companies not sponsoring the World Championship? It's kind of like, MasterCard decides to sponsor Division 1 of the English Football League, but not the World Cup. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. And not that I'm saying the Champions Chess Tour is Division 1 of the Football League, but, it shouldn't be on the same scale as the World Championship match. And, it does seem like there's a missed opportunity there.
No, I generally agree, and that we are still sticking to what I call, it's sponsorships, but not sponsorships in a commercial way. It's like, they seem to do it for other reasons, and it's, so relatively cheap that it's possible. But no, I feel it's a missed opportunity also in terms of if we actually commercialize the sports in terms of, getting sponsors who do it in order to earn money rather than, I call it sports washing. And I think, as you say, the champion, the tour there actually seems to get these kind of sponsorships, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, if we don't always have to be negative. we can be positive. But what I would like to see is FIDE saying, okay, the online viewership was 500,000 people. 570,000 followed the tie breaks online. So you go to serious sponsors and you say, look, we have a product here that 500,000 people want to watch live. And there are very few sponsors that are not interested in that. Maybe they can't afford it because that's big viewership. Mm-hmm. But it does seem unlikely that they're going to go to like Coca-Cola or someone like that they say, look at these numbers. Like, this is amazing. And that would be the positive outcome from the match, is that they should be taking advantage of this. Because, these numbers are big.
And I think that would be good to chess, with also being connected to large brands like that. But it seems
Jan's
that
back. We have to stop.
Jan is back. We have to stop. Sorry, we are just sitting here and agreeing with each other and trash talking FIDE. So, but welcome back, Jan.
I've told you guys many a time, this is the future. You have your own little spin-off podcast where you talk about FIDE and Coca-Cola.
Yeah, yeah, true. Anyway, anything you would like to round things off with about FIDE, not about FIDE? Anything at all?
I don't know. I could summarize events for our Dutch listeners, but there's not been that much action in Dutch chess last week.
I think that, action is a matter of, there has been sad news in terms of yet another chess column is gone.
Who was that? Hans Rey's column got cancelled?
I think so, yeah. That made quite a fuss online.
I did read about that.
No, some like that. They all end up, I don't think it's specifically our podcast who has sort of run them out of business, but maybe, times are changing.
I think it's us.
Yeah.
Apologies. Collateral damage. But this train cannot be stopped. Nee, het is helemaal niets gebeurd deze week. Ding is de nieuwe wereldkampioen. Gefeliciteerd. Lekker gezellig met Richie. Een beetje Bob Dylan. En nu moet hij schaken. Deze week op de Grand Chess Tour. Samen met Anish. Een heel leuk toernooi. Alireza, Ding, Anish, Nepomniachtchi, Rapport. Moet ik wel een beetje kijken. Dankjewel. Tot ziens. My Dutch is getting too good.
Yeah.
And this is no longer fun because I'm just fluent now.
But I heard it like you and Anish will go there to annoy these guys, but no.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
That was this week's Chicken Chess Club episode. Support the podcast. We have a Patreon where you can give us money. I don't think you get anything in return. That's still the business model. So please do that. Check out the recaps that the dedicated team of Peter Hein Nielsen, Laurent Fressinet, Mr Dodgy, even though I think he's usually muted, and Peter Svidler have been doing on the YouTube channel. There might be more coming there, but yeah, subscribe, hit the gong, whatever you're supposed to do there. Thank you so much for listening. Give us 5 stars on Spotify, because someone has to. Those are the things you're supposed to say, right?
I think so, yeah.
That's everything.
And also, if you want to sponsor our podcast, please get in touch.
Manscaped, where are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Come back.
I need a shave. See you at some point. Bye.
Bye.